Had a few contrarian thoughts and ideas on the show, and outgoing FNB CEO Michael Jordaan even joined us for some of these discussions. But let's take a look at the craziest investment ideas we've had on this show.
A contrarian view this evening. We've got a couple. Americans are flocking to the small Central American country of Costa Rica in search of lower prices on dental care. Now, listen up, because medical tourism to South Africa is picking up, and you only have to watch UK news channels to know the British dentistry leaves something to be desired. But just what do the tech billionaires do with all their money? Now, the top 8 geek spenders. Sean Parker, the co-founder of Napster, was Facebook's first president. Sean spent $13,000 on one meal and has got a $20 million townhouse in New York City. Makes him a bit of a spending amateur. A guy is a mechanical engineer with a background in 3D printing. He envisions, big word, a much more important use for technology, and he wants to use 3D technology to make food. He sees a day where every kitchen has got a 3D printer, and the world's 12 billion people by then will feed themselves customized, nutritionally appropriate meals, synthesized one layer at a time, sounds delicious, from cartridges of powder and oils they buy in their grocery stores.
It wasn't an Irma Stern, I missed that boat, etc. But there is new thing. If you can get a picture of Mandela, no offense to the old man, if you can find a kitschy picture of him, then you've got to go and buy it. Go search around all the antique shops or anything like that, because if Susan Shabunga is going to pay 3.7 million.
8 surprising things that wealthy Chinese people invest in. Let me give you a list quickly. Walnuts, racing pigeons. It's getting more and more ridiculous. Now, Hollywood's latest epic movies really do test the capacity of the average bladder. Sorry to get laboratorial on you, but this is important. So anyone who's going to see Les Mis or Lincoln or The Hobbit, these are movies that are over 2 and pushing 3 hours. And if you get Quentin Tarantino, it could be even longer. So you're going to love this new app. It's called Run P. It's an app that tells you the best times to dash off to the loo without missing any key scenes. American dental tourism to Costa Rica could contribute nearly 1% of GDP this year. 40,000 medical tourists made the crossing last year, more than a quarter of those to get their teeth done. Is our dental industry failing to fill this gap? Because it's all about ego, and it's all about you and the fact that you own a football club, and you will have men in the pub who will come up to you and buy you drinks.
I don't know why you're wasting my own football team.
Go have a cold shower. It's like auctions. Have you ever been to an auction? You know, one of those charity auctions, and they come, and this is a Springbok jersey that so-and-so wore in 19 so-and-so. Just sit there, sit on your hands. Just don't even be tempted to put it up.
The idea of shooting people at 760 miles an hour down the
And if you've seen the pictures, you have to lie down like this. I think because it goes so fast, you basically have to be naked, right? And it's going to be powered by the customers' screens as they fly through the... and the rail thing, it's not the train is not the problem, it's building the pipe. Because we've seen, even, you know, in California, things just don't get done.
But where he'll do it. He'll do it on a small test. You know, that's why, and that's where you've got to hand it to him. He's made the money, but he's not scared to spend it. He's like a Chris Becker, you know, just loves to reinvest and look for new things.
The difference is Chris Becker is actually making a return.
Yes, eventually. But you've got to hand it to Elon Musk. Just a wonderful character.
What do the names have in common? Tiger Woods. There's a clue. Kobe Bryant, Lance Armstrong, Oscar Pistorius, Marion Jones, Wayne Rooney, Bo Jackson, and even Rory McIlroy. All, at some stage, have been ambassadors of Nike and their products. All of the athletes have been involved in stories that have tarnished their images and that of the sponsor. So 2 questions we asked today. Is there such a thing as the Nike curse?
I'd rather buy a company that sells air, like MTN and Vodacom. You know, they just sell air. Yes. Whereas the gold company's got to go dig 1, 2, 3, 4 kilometers underground, etc., blast all that rock, and they bring up a ton of rock and they get a thimble full of gold. I mean, crazy. In other words, governments have got a regional constituency. Corporates have got an international constituency. You can't do that to corporates anymore. You can't dictate this is what you'll do. And that's what's happening to Anglo-Plat, and that worries me. So what are the shareholders doing in London? They're saying, listen, if you're going to continue like this, we're going to put more and more pressure on you, Mr. Kutufani, to abandon your South African assets. And I think governments have now got to understand they've actually lost control.
Contrarian view this week is a little bit, I called it bizarre, but maybe deep is better. Because they built the world's largest mall, and then they built the world's largest building. And now, if plans come to fruition, the Emirates will soon be home to one of the world's largest underwater hotels. The underwater section will be up to 10 metres beneath the sea's surface, contain 21 double rooms adjacent to a dive centre and a beverage counter. Over the result of the election, one thing is certain: Robert Mugabe will be back in office. I didn't say that. 4 years of uneasy power sharing between the President and the Prime Minister will come to an end, because Changarai, of course, has said he doesn't want to do power sharing anymore. Robert Mugabe has said if he loses, he will step aside. But will the loser, in fact, accept defeat?
Now, the lively David Shapiro may have been the biggest constant in terms of guests, but some great minds have been on the show since last year November. To all of you, we say thank you.
In the olden days, people used to talk over the garden fence. We no longer have garden fences. We have big walls with electrified wire on top. So we need David just to give us some of the goss.
So I think Pick n Pay's got a tough battle. It's not going to be a turnaround in 1 year. It's going to take a long time. But I think the market ran ahead of itself. It's pushed these share prices up quite hard.
Just make a change because you think it's going to be, you don't think the previous administration was bad. You're going to find something better that's going to replace it, that's going to do a better job. That being said, I do think that the new co-CEOs, let us say, Albert Younger, one's 53, one's 45, and that's obviously going to be a positive. Maybe at 45 years old, you're a bit closer to where the pulse of the country is than you are when you're close to 60, and that could be a positive.
I'm just checking.
I think
they haven't yet managed to suck the sook dry.
I think the social aspect will always be there because of the great culture of togetherness that we have in this country. But also, it used to be very expensive for people with small amounts of money to put that in. That's less so now. So I think attitudes will change as people understand what's out there. I don't think it's people have looked at it and said, I hate these vicious financial institutions. I think a lot of people probably don't even know the history of all the terrible things that banks have done over the last few years.
This works for me. I know my neighbour. I can see the whites of my neighbour's eyes.
The power of habit is a very strong one.
How do you break it?
I think it's great. I mean, I think Roman or Chelsea also got part of the Sauber F1 team. So it's a whole glamorous lifestyle. You know, if someone's got to pay for it for us to enjoy it, so rather him than me.
Oh, completely. No, they can have their ego investments. And we can live the Lexington lifestyle in circa 1975.
And we've been there. That holiday home, you know, you're sitting on, I remember we had one as a family, and I used to be on the trading floor and I'd hear the phone call come up. It's William from the home in Salt Rock, you know. The Tongaat was flooding the toilets over. You've got to go find a plumber or somewhere like this. It's avoid it. Just same thing. Go have a cold shower. Just say no.
It's an interesting one. How does that fight affect us then, Mike, from your perspective?
I think it creates a lot of uncertainty. The sequester is still very much in play until the end of February. We've got the debt ceiling whole argument. We were already there at the end of the year. So through all sorts of financial manipulations have been able to push it out. And I really do think the rating agencies are watching this very carefully. I wouldn't be at all surprised, and Bernanke has certainly suggested that they actually better watch it a little bit, because the rating agencies could actually ratchet them down another notch.
We think
I suppose you're right. They have managed to emerge from this looking actually very, very good indeed. And you know, I come back to the old thing: there is no such thing as bad publicity. They still sell an awful lot of the merchandise.
And as the large company, provided you react timeously, we've been terribly let down by this individual who we supported, gave love, and made them incredibly rich. We will now release them from our care and unleash them on the big bad world. Nike then comes out smelling of roses. They've done the right thing from a corporate perspective, even though their judgment initially may not have been spectacular.
Yeah, and they spend millions and millions of dollars on corporate reputation because it is so incredibly important.
We talk about it. They speak about it all the time. But anybody who's ever visited the United States, if you go to Kennedy Airport, you go to the ports, it's very old. And I think so there's a lot that has to happen to get...
New York needs to hold a World Cup soccer tournament, because then they'll get new airports, because those airports are dismal. I mean, they're perfectly functional, they're absolutely fine, that's what airports should really look like. They should be dismal places. You don't want to spend much more time in them than you need to. More worrying, though, even than the United States. Sure, it's the engine room, and Ben Bernanke is a terribly important and crucial individual. I just saw the jobs numbers in South Africa this week, sitting at 25.6%. Those are people who are still looking for jobs. There are another 1.5 million or 2 million people who've given up looking for jobs simply because they don't exist. We're sitting with an unemployment problem approaching 40%.
People who invest in mines do not do it for charity. They do it for decent returns, and if they can't get decent returns, they go elsewhere.
I think if you look at the gaming industry, it's interesting, and hotel industry, it's a very interesting space. It had depressed levels for quite some time. There was oversupply for quite some time. So we like the stories where nobody else wants to invest, and so we like the story, and we think it's going to go and pick up over time. We see business going to city lots again. You'll see, just for instance, if you get 2% more occupancy rates, you get about 25% bottom line push through on your.
The trouble with a hotel is you've got a fixed asset which is sitting there slowly mouldering away. The rooms have to be dusted, the beds have to be made, the geysers switched on. The moment somebody actually goes into a room and generates you some income, that is profit. It's great.
I don't know whether he's got the energy, and I don't know whether his team's got the energy to actually turn it around.
But that's the point. Okay, so if your team doesn't have the energy, David's assessment of this is the team doesn't have the energy, you then cut the job in half and you give half the job to Ben Kruger and half the job to Sim Chabalala, telling the market neither of these guys really is good enough to manage the bank by themselves, so we'll kind of compromise. It's a cop-out, surely.
I've been watching it for years, boom, boom, and eventually I decided to do it.
What level did you buy Famous Brands at?
Wherever it is now.
$75.
Yeah.
Record levels.
At like 35 or 36 PE.
One of the Halamandares or one of the Halamandares keeps selling.
Well, I eat the tashes all the time, and I thought I've got to get something back.
It's called return on investment.
Yes.
Is there any category there in Cruikshanks where you think, yeah, I would invest in something like that? Have you ever tried?
Yes, I have. I built up a small wine collection at one stage.
What is small? I mean, small.
No, it's 300-400 bottles.
Oh, well, that's a nice small wine collection.
Yes. Anyway, and I thought, people would say, wow, you got some of that. Gee, you said. And then I thought, why did I buy it? To show off. No, because in due course I'll be able to say, hey, I bought this for R2, and they're selling it, at 200 rands a bottle now or something like that.
Best investment you ever made.
Provided there's a buyer. There lies the crux of the problem. So the other day I thought, well, I had some Niederberg Selected Cabernet. Now this goes back 30 or 35 years or so, and I thought, well, they always had a long-lasting reputation. I'll try this. It was bought for trading, not for drinking.
Okay, so you burnt your fingers on wine.
Well, no, it was R1, and now it still goes at the auction for 200 rands.
Yes, but nobody buys
maybe somebody
plans to drink it.
Yes, that's true.
It's your
That's
fault.
their risk.
I like it. I think that it's a company we're going to have to take a lot closer look at. The easy money's been made, but I think even so, I love. Some of the clients that come and see us, and I always say this, they come in, they look like farmers, and I say, where do you get your money? Transport. It's a big money spinner.
I was ready at 12. I'm no longer ready.
No, they must never do that.
No, exactly. Can I take this uncomfortable thing out of my ear now? Because as it's not working, I can whip it up, yeah.
Never mentioned your weight stuff.
Jane, you're in the firing line. Oh no, change your mind.
Now we've come to the end of our highlights show, and after 37 episodes, 38 after this one, of the fantastic Squawk with Bruce Whitfield. Remember that next week Bruce is back to take a look at the latest market movers and crazy business ideas. Remember to tweet the show using the hashtag Squawk with Bruce. Every Thursday, 9 p.m. Central African Time. I'm Arabile Kumete. You're tuned in to CNBC Africa, first in business worldwide. Cheers for now.
Rather just change it to just don't do it.
Don't. Who allowed him onto the show? Like getting to a lazy boy.
First salted.
You're watching Squawk on CNBC Africa. My name is Bruce Whitfield, and I'm joined.